Somewhere in America right now, a man or woman over 70 is sitting alone in their living room. Maybe it's you, and perhaps someone, a neighbor, a family member, a voice on television, has made you feel in some quiet way that you should be doing more, going out more, staying active, staying relevant. As if stillness were a symptom, as if being at home were something to apologize for. I want to speak to you today directly from the Dharma, from the ancient teachings of the Buddha. And I want to say something that perhaps no one has said to you lately. What if staying home is not giving up? What if staying home is in fact the most courageous, the most wise, the most spiritually powerful thing you can do for yourself right now? My name is Mahinda Siri Thero. I am a Buddhist monk in the Theravada tradition. And today I want to share with you 6 reasons, rooted in the Dharma, rooted in the Buddha's own words, why staying home after 70 is not a retreat from life. It is a return to yourself. Before we begin, I want to be clear about something. This is not a talk about giving up. This is not a talk about hiding from the world or withdrawing from the people you love. The Buddha himself, after his awakening, did not disappear. He walked the roads of ancient India for 45 years, teaching, meeting people, engaging with the world. But the Buddha also said this, and these words are very important. He taught the value of viveka, a Pali word that means solitude, inner stillness, withdrawal from noise and distraction, not as a punishment, not as isolation, but as nourishment for the mind. And I want you to hear this. There comes a stage in life, a very sacred stage, when the world's busyness is no longer yours to carry. When the noise of external things begins to fall away naturally. When the body itself invites you to slow down. That stage, my friends, is not a problem to be solved. It is a gift to be received. And for many of you who are in your 70s, your 80s, you are standing right at the doorway of that gift. Today, I want to help you walk through it. Here are 6 reasons why staying home right now is the best thing you can do for yourself. In the ancient Buddhist tradition, when a monk or a nun reached a level of practice and maturity, they would often retreat to a small dwelling, a cave, a forest hut, a simple room at the edge of the monastery. This dwelling had a name in Pali, Avasa, a place of residence, but more than that, a sacred space shaped by the intention of the one who lived in it. The great meditators of the Buddha's time did not choose these quiet places because they had failed at life. They chose them because they understood something profound. Where we dwell shapes what we become. Now, I want to ask you something. Think about your home, the room where you sleep, the chair where you drink your morning tea or coffee, the window where you watch the light change through the seasons. You may not think of it as sacred. You may think of it as ordinary. But I want to suggest to you today that your home, right now, at this stage of your life, can be your hermitage, your place of practice, your avasa. Before the age of 70, your home was a base of operations, a place you returned to after the world had exhausted you, after commuting, after meetings, after social obligations, after the 10,000 demands of a busy life. But something changes, gradually, beautifully. The world's demands begin to loosen their grip. You no longer have to rush out the door. You no longer have to perform for anyone. And in that space, that opening, your home becomes something different. It becomes the place where you can finally be still. I think of it like this. A bowl of water will only show you your own reflection when it is not being carried from place to place, sloshing and spilling. Only when it is set down, only when it is still, does the surface become clear, like a mirror. Your mind is like that bowl. When you stay home, not out of fear, not out of resignation, but with intention, you are setting the bowl down. You are giving your mind the conditions it needs to become clear. That is not a small thing. That is everything. So the first reason staying home is the best thing you can do for yourself is this. Your home is ready to become your hermitage, your place of practice, the ground where your deepest transformation can happen. There is something our modern culture is deeply afraid of: silence. Turn on the television the moment you wake up. Fill every commute with a podcast or the radio. Keep the phone nearby so that no moment is ever truly quiet. We have built an entire civilization around the avoidance of silence. And I understand why. Silence, at first, can feel uncomfortable. When the noise stops, we begin to hear ourselves. And sometimes what we hear is not easy to face. Old worries, old regrets, the quiet hum of questions we have been avoiding for years. But here is what the Buddha discovered, and what the great meditators across centuries have confirmed again and again. Silence is not empty. Silence is full. Silence is where reality actually lives. Silence is where the present moment becomes visible, tangible, real in a way it never can be when we are surrounded by noise. There is a beautiful teaching in the Pali Canon from a short but extraordinary scripture called the Bahya Sutta. The Buddha gives perhaps the most direct teaching on mindfulness in all of the ancient texts. He says, in essence, in the seen, only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. In the sensed, only the sensed. In the cognized, only the cognized. Not what we think about what we see. Not the story we layer over what we hear. Just this. Just here. At 70, at 75, at 80, something remarkable can happen if you let it. The senses naturally begin to soften. Hearing is not quite as sharp. Vision is not quite as crisp. The world of sensation begins to gentle down. Many people experience this as loss, but the Dharma invites us to see it differently. What if the softening of the senses is an invitation to stop being pulled outward by every sound, every flicker of light, every notification, every demand, and to begin moving inward instead? I want to offer you a very simple practice. Tomorrow morning, before you turn on the television, before you pick up your phone, just sit in your favorite chair or at your kitchen table with your cup of tea or coffee. And for 10 minutes, let there be silence. Do not try to make your mind empty. Do not try to meditate in any formal way. Just listen to the silence. Notice what is there. You may be surprised, because when you really listen, silence is not empty at all. There is the sound of your own breathing. There is the sound of the house settling. There is birdsong, or wind, or the distant hum of morning. There is the feeling of warmth and weight and presence. That presence is you. And it has been there your whole life, waiting to be noticed. Silence is where you meet yourself. Let me speak honestly with you about something. The body changes after 70. The joints speak more loudly than they used to. The energy that once carried you through a full day now has its own pace, its own rhythm. Sleep changes, appetite changes, balance changes. And our culture, which worships youth and speed and productivity, has taught us to experience all of this as loss, as failure, as something to be corrected, medicated, overcome. But the Buddha taught something called Kayanupassana, which translates as contemplation of the body. And in this practice, the body is not an obstacle to spiritual life. The body is not something to push past or ignore. The body is a teacher. Every ache carries information. Every moment of tiredness is an invitation. Every slowing down is the body's way of saying, there is wisdom available here if you will only stop and receive it. Think about what the aging body actually demonstrates if you pay close attention. It demonstrates impermanence, anicca, one of the three fundamental characteristics of all existence that the Buddha taught. The body that was strong at 30 is different at 50, different again at 70. Everything changes. Nothing holds its form forever. And when we see this, really see it, not just think about it, but feel it, in the way our knees feel when we rise from a chair, in the way our reflection has softened over the decades, something very important can happen. We stop fighting reality. There is tremendous peace in stopping the fight with reality. When we stop insisting that things should be other than they are, when we meet this body, this moment, this age with honesty and kindness, the suffering that comes from resistance begins to dissolve. Now, I want to be careful here. I am not saying that you should not care for your health or that exercise and movement are unimportant. Please continue your walks. Please do your gentle yoga or your stretching. Take care of this remarkable vehicle that has carried you for 70, 80, 90 years. What I am saying is this. There is a difference between movement and restlessness, between physical care and anxious striving. When you stay home, when you move slowly, intentionally through your own space, you have the opportunity to turn every movement into meditation. Walking to the kitchen, a meditation. Folding laundry, a meditation. Watering a plant, washing a dish, sitting in the afternoon sun, all of it, if done with awareness, becomes kayanupassana, contemplation of the body. The practice of being fully here, in this body, in this moment. The body is not slowing down as punishment. It is slowing down as an invitation to finally stop rushing through your own life and to actually be in it. In the ancient texts of the Pali Canon, there is a collection of poems called the Theragatha, the verses of the elder monks, and the Therigatha, the verses of the elder nuns. These are not poems about youth. They are not poems about the early fire of spiritual searching or the vigor of a young practitioner's first insights. These are poems written by old men and old women, people who had lived long, complicated lives, who had known loss and labor and love and grief, and who had arrived in the fullness of their years at a wisdom that only time can give. The Venerable Ambapali, whose poem is among the most celebrated in the entire collection, begins with an honest description of her aged body, the grey hair, the wrinkled skin, the slowed movements, and ends with these words, spoken with complete serenity. Such is this body, the abode of much pain. An old person's body is frail, but one who knows this is at peace. She did not reach that peace despite her age. She reached it through her age. This is what I want you to hear. Perhaps more than anything else I say today, you are not behind. We live in a world that measures wisdom in credentials, in degrees and titles and accomplishments. And by those measures, a person in their 70s who has stepped back from career and achievement can feel sometimes as if their time for growth has passed. But the Dharma measures wisdom differently. Wisdom, panya in Pali, is not something you acquire in a classroom. It is not something you can rush. It grows the way a great tree grows, slowly, invisibly, through the steady accumulation of seasons, through loss and recovery, through love and letting go, through the 10,000 experiences that only a long life can provide. You have been gathering the raw material of wisdom your whole life. Every difficulty you survived, every relationship that taught you something about yourself, every time you were wronged and had to reckon with that, every time you were broken and somehow found a way to heal. All of that is in you. And here is the thing about wisdom. It does not emerge in noise and busyness. It emerges in reflection, in the quiet space where experience can be examined, digested, understood at a level deeper than the mind. That is exactly what staying home gives you, the time and the quiet to finally understand your own life, to see the patterns, to feel the threads of meaning that run through everything, to arrive, perhaps for the first time, at a sense of what it has all been for. You are not behind. You are exactly ripe. I want to speak now about something that concerns many people as they get older, and that is the feeling of not being useful. Perhaps you are someone who worked hard your whole life, who raised children or ran a business or cared for others, who defined yourself in part by what you contributed. And now, as the pace of life has changed, there can be a quiet fear underneath everything. Am I still giving? Am I still needed? Does my life still matter? The Dharma's answer to that question is so beautiful and so simple that I want you to really take it in. Yes. Yes, you are still giving. Yes, you are still needed. And yes, more than you know, your life still matters. The Buddha placed dana, generosity, at the very foundation of the spiritual path. And the kind of generosity the Buddha praised most was not necessarily the large, visible, public kind. It was the quiet, steady, intentional kind. And here is something important. Dana does not require you to go anywhere. Think about what you can give from exactly where you are. You can call someone who is lonely, not to report the news of your day, but to truly listen, to give them the rare gift of feeling fully heard. How many people in this world are desperate for someone who will simply listen, without judgment, without hurry? You can practice metta, loving kindness meditation, sitting in your chair, breathing quietly, and extending wishes of peace and well-being to your family members, one by one, to your neighbors, to people you have had difficulty with, to the whole city, the whole country, the whole world. This is not passive. This is one of the most powerful practices in the entire Buddhist tradition, and you can do it from your living room. You can write a letter to a grandchild, sharing something you have learned from life, not as a lesson, but as a gift. Words that may be read and reread long after you are gone. You can simply be, calmly, peacefully, without anxiety, in a world that is saturated with anxiety. Do not underestimate what this gives to the people around you. A person who has found inner peace is a gift to everyone they encounter. Their steadiness is contagious. Their quiet joy is nourishing. There is an image I return to often. Imagine a great old tree, standing in a field or a garden or at the edge of a forest. The tree is not rushing anywhere. The tree is not doing anything that would impress a busy world. It is simply there. And yet, birds nest in its branches, children play in its shade, its roots hold the soil, its leaves clean the air, its very presence is generosity. You can be that tree, rooted, still, quietly, constantly giving, just by being who you have become. I want to speak now about something that our culture finds very difficult to discuss. I want to speak about the end of life. Please do not be afraid of what I am about to say. I am not going to speak about death in the way it is often spoken about, with clinical language, or with fear, or with a kind of hushed discomfort that treats it as a subject to be avoided. I want to speak about it the way the Buddha spoke about it, with clarity, with honesty, and with tremendous kindness. In the Theravada tradition, there is a practice called Maranasati, mindfulness of death. And I know that to a Western ear, this can sound morbid, frightening. Why would anyone want to dwell on death? But the purpose of Maranadenati is not to create fear, it is to create freedom. The Buddha taught that the person who holds death clearly in mind, not with anxiety, but with the calm, open eyes of a meditator, that person is able to live with a quality of presence and intention that is simply not available to someone who is always pushing the thought of death away. Because when we know, truly know, in the bones, not just as an abstract idea, that this life is precious and finite and unrepeatable, we stop postponing the things that actually matter. We stop saving our kindness for later. We stop waiting to forgive or to say, I love you, or to sit quietly and enjoy the morning light. We start living fully and gratefully right now. And this is why I say to you, every day that you spend at home, in quiet, in presence, in practice, is not waiting for the end. It is preparation in the deepest sense. Not the anxious preparation of arranging affairs and writing documents, though those things have their place, but the inner preparation of a soul becoming whole. There is a beautiful image in the teachings. An oil lamp does not worry as its oil grows low. It does not flicker with anxiety as the hours pass. It simply burns, clearly, warmly, fully, giving its light completely until the very last moment. That is what I wish for you. Not a long list of achievements or outings or activities in these years. Simply this, to burn clearly, to be fully present in the life that is yours, to let each morning at home be a morning of practice, of gratitude, of awareness, of love, so that when the time comes, whenever that time comes, you will not feel that you have wasted your days. You will feel, and this is what I truly hope for every one of you, complete. Every day at home is not waiting. Every day at home is the practice of dying well by living well. Let me bring these 6 reasons together as a gift for you to carry. When you stay home, when you choose the quiet of your own space over the restless noise of a world that is always rushing, you are, in the language of the Dharma, doing something immensely valuable. Your home becomes a hermitage, a sacred space for practice. Your silence becomes full, the doorway to presence itself. Your slowing body becomes a teacher, demonstrating the truth of impermanence with every breath. Your long life becomes the source of wisdom, ripening now just as it should. Your stillness becomes generosity, a gift of peace to everyone in your world. And your daily practice at home becomes preparation, the inner wholeness that makes a good death the natural completion of a good life. The world will always call you to rush. It will always offer you another reason to go out, to do more, to prove something. The noise is very convincing, but the Dharma calls you home, not to a physical place only, but to yourself, to the deep, quiet presence that has been at the center of your life since the moment you were born, and that will be there, steady and clear, at the moment you depart. You do not need to earn that presence. You do not need to travel to find it. You do not need to be younger or healthier or more active. You only need to be still and to recognize in the stillness what has always been there. If this talk has offered you any comfort, any insight, any small measure of peace, I am deeply grateful. Please share it with someone you love who may need to hear these words. And if you would like to continue walking the Dharma path together, please consider subscribing to this channel. Each week, I offer these teachings freely as an act of dana, with the sincere hope that they may be of benefit. May you be well. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you find happiness in the life that is yours. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.